I've seen you starting this tournament with 25. Yeah, that's fine. But the blinds level are quite advanced. Like, did you make a late reg?
Yeah, absolutely the rate reg. I just played all the Bounty Wheeler series running up to like $50. So this was the last one. I just click in there.
Like, obviously, like when you are playing at the very bottom of your buying range, then you may not want to take it super seriously. But in case someone is grinding this professionally, I would really like to highlight that late regging bounty tournaments is just a big waste of equity. So I really advise not to late reg bounty tournaments. Maybe like 15-20 minutes, that's fine, but you don't want to, like, early in a bounty tournament you can find a lot of very highly plus EV situations, because the bounties are worth around 25-30% of the starting chips, and this means that a guy can have a 50 big blind bounty on his head, and this gives you a lot of opportunities to gamble with really high plus EV. And if you late reg, you first of all you give up on these opportunities, and on the other hand, the weakest guys are already left the tournament when you start playing. So that's not what you want. In a normal regular tournament, it is fine to late reg. Actually, as long as you want, probably your EV raises because you are getting closer and closer to money. And even if you are short stacked, your overall expected value goes up. But this is not true in bounty tournaments. And the next hand where we disagreed is this pair of jacks. Yeah, this is a tricky hand, probably. No, not really. Yeah, we can just jam. This is a very frequent situation in low stakes tournaments, that people have different raise sizes with different type of holdings. So what is very common is that they raise big with their big hands, and they raise small with their small hands. So whenever they have something like ace-9 offsuit or ace-9 suited, they raise small because they just want to take a cheap shot on stealing the pot. And when they have something like pocket 9s, pocket 8s, pocket 10s, ace king, etc., then they raise big. And given that we cover him, we can definitely go for full stacks in a bounty tournament, especially that he has bigger than the normal size bounty. So this bounty probably is worth around 13,000-14,000 chips, which is good enough to go for this stack. And I think we get much more calls by just simply pushing all in, because then he doesn't get suspicious with hands like pocket 9s, pocket 8s, pocket 10s. They just say that this is probably ace king, so I have to take this flip, and they are very happy to just stack off. But luckily we got his stack anyway, and yeah, this is fine. Actually, in low stakes tournaments, I often do something like, if I see a 3-bet from someone who barely made any 3-bet earlier, like having an overall 3-bet frequency of like 3%, then I very often jam 200 big blinds with aces or kings, because they are just unable to fold even like pocket 9s to that move, because they just say that, hey, this is ace king, and I have to take this. And on the river, I think we are fine betting. I would not go for his full stack, even though it's bounty tournament, and we would like to get get those bounties. But this will sound strange, but like when you play in low stakes tournaments, you really want to pay attention to the population tendencies. And one of the strongest tendencies in low stakes bounty tournaments is that they just don't want to give you their bounty. in like no way. Thanks to this, you can execute a lot more bluffs. Like here, you could have a ton of bluffs with like Queen Jack and what else, like six, like any eight, some 6x type hands as well. So I would be very happy to go for their stacks with a bluff, but in practice I expect them to overfold heavily to when you ask for the whole stack and for their bounty, and they tend to call somehow against the smaller bets when they just don't understand like why you didn't go for their bounty. The raise is fine, and this is not a situation where you want to c-bet your whole range, because you open like 35% of your of all the hands from the cutoff, and the imposition player, especially if it is a bigger stack than yours, will be fairly sticky on this texture. And he also has quite a few king x hands, flush draws, backdoor flush draws. He can pressure you with on later streets. So you definitely don't want to use range c-bet here. And if you don't use range c-bet in a situation, yeah, Baba Booey says that actually cutoff versus button, we don't want to c-bet that much. That's absolutely right. He's completely fine with this. This is what I would like to break down. So if you don't want to c-bet range in a situation, then you should always start thinking about what like kind of trap hands or what medium strong hands you should check on the flop. And given that this is one of the weakest kings you can have here, I would strongly suggest checking this. And otherwise, if you c-bet all your kings and you only check your hands which are not king x, then it's not hard to figure out what you have, because it is like the basic logic. So this is something which many beginners, or even in mid stakes, many players just don't have strong hands in their check ranges. And this is especially true in cutoff versus button, and can be really problematic. So yeah, Baba Booey is right that in general we want to check 70-80% of our range in most of the situations. Maybe on some king queen type texture, but no, those also favor the imposition player. So yeah, you generally want to check a lot cutoff versus button. Yeah, and if you made a c-bet and got a call on the turn, so what? You should probably check. This turn also gave some extra equity to his like he can, like with these steps, these deep stacks, he can have some hands like 4-5-4 suited, 6-7 suited. Also some hands like pair plus flush draw, pair plus straight draw. So in general, you don't want to run too many bluffs on this turn, and therefore you should give up a lot of hands. And if you give up a lot of hands, you should have some medium strength hands which you also pretend to give up. And to go with some basic logic, this is probably not good. We face a small raise, and from this point, like you got into trouble and you are in a guessing game. I don't know your ranges to give some kind of like theoretical solution, like what hands you should call down against this bet theoretically. but yeah, you should probably only call with the very strong, like a few very strong hands you may have here, like something like 2 pairs on the turn, or some kind of like top set you play this way, or yeah, I don't think you will face too many bluffs here, but you can never know. In general, like what I want to emphasize is that you still have to find your clear motivation for playing poker, because otherwise you will end up catching yourself in a lot of like frustrated situations. So as a recreational tournament player, this is sad news, but I have to tell you that even like top tournament pros I know, they often have break-even or losing periods for 5,000 tournaments or even 10,000 tournaments, even if they have very steady win rate in the tournaments they play. So if your win rate is not that steady, then it can easily happen that you break even for 2-3 years or even longer. So if you decide to evaluate your poker skills based on your results, you will get nowhere. Like it is absolutely not realistic to expect any profit as a recreational player. If you decide to take poker seriously, but you know that the amount of time you can invest into the grind is limited, therefore the volume is limited, then you have to find like other type of motivations. Like let's say we identify 3 types of like your 3 biggest mistakes this session, like calling too wide from the small blind, making a little bit too much C bets, too many C bets out of position, or using too big bet sizes in position for C bets. So far, probably these are the 3 biggest takeaways from this session. Then your goal should be for the next session to identify these 3 mistakes, make a sticky note, and at the end of the session, ask yourself, was I able to execute my plan? Was I able to make fewer mistakes in these situations which we identified? And yeah, if you succeeded, then you should tap your shoulder, and you should be very proud about yourself. And you should know that eventually, on the long run, if you always focus on your 3 biggest mistakes and you constantly fix them, then you will have a much better chance to actually get lucky. Yeah. This guy limped. I don't think open limping from this position is is really a thing. I think this is more like a not well executed strategy, or not even strategy, just some kind of random limping, which is probably more of a weak hand, especially that we have an ace. So I think with 25 big blinds, we can safely just jam, and we will pick up this 20,000 chips fairly often. Yeah, if you raise, the problem is that they will call with a lot of like Queen 10 suited, 10-9 suited, 10-8 suited. Those hands perform really well against our hand, and this hand like plays terribly out of position in a non-all-in situation. So yeah, on this flop, you can approach this 2 ways. You can do range c-bet because this really favors your range, and then what you have to keep in mind that then you have to check your whole range on the turn. This is obviously like exploitative slightly, or too simplified, but you can probably get away with like a 12,000 bet on the flop and range check on the turn, and then they will have a hard time exploit you. Or you can divide your range on the flop and develop a check range with your weakest ace-x hands and with some like full of aces, ace queen, or even like some other queen x hands as well. Yeah, if they bet, I don't feel really comfortable, but obviously against the 1/4 bet, I don't want to fold. On the turn, it's still really questionable. Probably we want to call because the size is too small. With the raise, I don't think we accomplished really anything. The same goes for raises as for the bets. So it is either has to be a value raise, which by definition has to be called by mostly weaker hands, which is not the case here, or has to be a bluff raise, so to fold out better hands, not the case, or has to be a protection raise, which is once again not the case because there are very few hands, very few outs or opponent has if he's behind. So yeah, maybe you can fold out some split hands, but that's just not enough a reason. This ace queen was also somewhat questionable. I think in general you don't really want to have open pushes with 21 big blind early position. Yeah, there is some bounty on your head, but not like super relevant because these bounties are worth around 4 big blinds, and in general people just don't re-steal enough, don't 3-bet enough. So you want to, you still can have some cheap steals here, and yeah, I don't want to play a push fold strategy here in low stakes tournaments. In high stakes, you may want to do more of those. Yeah, 12 BB or below, you open shove. Well, yeah, this is okay rule of thumb. In bounty tournaments, this may not be true. You may have to open shove with like 20-25 BB stacks. Even if you have a huge bounty on your head, then you may have to adjust and play a push only strategy with 20-25 big blinds. But those are rare cases. In this situation, I think raising is fine. And in non-bounty tournaments, there are some situations, even from the button and from the small blind, where you want to play a limp and push strategy according to the Munker ranges.